Hey everybody, Matty Ice here, back with another build video. This one is going to focus on the upcoming Arc 3.0 changes. So there's going to be a little bit of speculation that goes on here, but if nothing else, this will give you a good idea of some combinations you can use. So before I get into the demonstration of this build in particular, I do just want to call out that I am actually going to be streaming on Twitch this coming Friday, and it's going to be kind of hit or miss in the future about when exactly I stream. There's not going to be any set schedule. But yeah, so come check it out. I'm going to put a link in the description. I would greatly appreciate it if you could follow the channel. And yeah, so let's get back here to the build. So this build focuses on a few different things. The primary thing is we're using Cold Heart for our weapon, because Cold Heart, if you are not aware, generates ionic traces when it gets kills in its high damage state. And these will give you ability energy back when you're using the middle tree arc super. So the middle tree is going to be changing obviously with 3.0, but it's still going to probably be around in some form, whether it be an aspect or fragment, as far as these arc traces are concerned. Now this build also, I have elemental armaments on, so I can generate elemental wells on the arc weapon kills. And I also have elemental ordnance on to generate wells through my grenade kills. I'm using bountiful wells, so I can generate 2 for each of those. And then I'm becoming charged with light whenever I pick those up. Now, the point of this is to have Mantle of Battle Harmony help you get your super back as quickly as possible by getting the arc weapon kills. And then we're going to get even more super energy back by getting a lot of grenade kills and using a specific mod to generate super energy by using our grenade. So the whole point of this build is to do a lot of ability spam and generate your super as quickly as possible. Now when this comes to Arc 3.0, again, I think a lot of this will be changing and becoming aspects and fragments, but it will still remain pretty consistent. I think the terms that will stick around are electrocute and probably chain, so you'll be doing a lot of chain lightning, a lot of kind of shocking and stunning, generating the arc traces, ionic traces. So I think a lot of that will become part of Arc 3.0, and I'll discuss more of my thoughts on what would be Arc 3.0 later in the video. But as far as the rest of this is concerned, I'm just going to be showing a little bit of the gameplay in the background, just kind of like I did with the Volatile Void build, and this is just to help show off what the build is capable of and give you a feel for what you could expect by using this particular build and loadout. Now, like I mentioned, there are a couple of options you can do with this. You don't have to use the specific mods I have. You can generate your charge with light some other way. You can mix it up. You can go a little bit more melee heavy if you want to go melee heavy. That's kind of on you, but this is just to kind of get you started, again, similar to the Volatile Void build. Okay, so going over the mods and potential aspects and fragments for this build, went with a solar helmet. So this is going to be because we're going to be using a lot of abilities. We want all of our super uptime to be as high as possible. So we're going to go Ashes to Assets. So when we get those grenade kills, we get super energy. Put in 1 harmonic siphon, since we are using Cold Heart. We are going to get some orbs generated from that to again build up that super energy. And then elemental ordnance, so that when we get those grenade kills, we're going to get some elemental wells. On the arms, I kept them void for a couple of reasons. Bolstering detonation and focusing strike. These are 2 mods that are very, very handy. If you do have to swap these out for champion mods, that's okay. All it's really going to do is make your class ability come back a little slower. I put 1 of each of these on because they kind of work like Heart of Inmost Light, sort of, in that sense that like you use your grenade to get your class ability back, which then gets you your rift, so you can then use your rift to get your grenade back. And then kind of the same here, we're using your melee to generate your class ability, which gets you your grenade back. So it kind of works in tandem, because then your grenade generates wells, which gets you your melee energy back. So it all kind of cycles together. But the main reason we're on Void here is for this guy, Energy Converter. So when you're charged with light, whenever you use your grenade, as long as you have less than 50% of your super, it's going to give you a lot of super energy back. So the more stacks of, you have of Charge with Light, the more it's going to give you, up to that 50% mark. So if you're over 50%, it doesn't really contribute, but it's going to basically kind of be like a mini Phoenix protocol for an Arc subclass. I mean, really it's any subclass, but we're using this on the Arc. Alright, Mantle of Battle Harmony as the chest piece. Kind of mentioned that earlier. So this is going to give you super energy back as long as you're using a weapon that matches your element type. So we are using Cold Heart, which again matches our Arc subclass, which kind of feeds into this whole loop. And then if you do have full super energy, you gain extra weapon damage. So this doesn't really help with your ability regen so much as it does just getting your super back, which again was the whole point of this build, is just super uptime. Alright, for the boots, I went solar. This is going to be a pretty standard boot for most of these builds, just because wells are pretty powerful, and our solar boots are probably the best ones because they have recuperation and then bountiful wells. Finally, for the bond, this is where we become Charged with Light with our elemental charge, and I've got 2 bombers on there to help us get our grenade back even faster. Now, using Cold Heart, as I mentioned earlier, and it's kind of another key part of this build, I'm using Cold Heart because of the Longest Winter. Periodically generates ionic traces while in its high damage state, and this is similar to the Wave Splitter build that I put out, where Wave Splitter has like 3 different kind of damage phases. So this is kind of the same thing, where the longer you are shooting something and holding down that trigger, the longer it remains on the target, the more damage it's going to do. So that's the mods and the weapon. Your primary and heavy weapon can vary. I would somewhat recommend an Arc Heavy just because it kind of feeds into the ability to generate wells and super energy. But I want to go into the potential aspects and fragments here. So there's been a lot of speculation about what will become an aspect and what will become a fragment. So the Ball Lightning, I think, is going to be your standard melee. I think Warlocks are probably going to have 2 different melees. It's going to kind of be this Rising Storm and this Ball Lightning, or this Chain Lightning melee. So it's going to be like a physical melee and then a projectile melee. I think the traits of Chain Lightning and Rising Storm will become your fragments. So this is going to be something that will be available to all classes. Electrocuting something, which is probably going to be one of the terms like Scorch. So if something is electrocuted, you're going to get your super grenade and melee energy back, or you could go in the other direction where you could chain your lightning. Now, what I think will become not necessarily... This one's a tough one. I don't know if this is going to become an aspect or a fragment, because ionic traces have been intrinsic to Warlocks, with the exception of Cold Heart, which any class can use. So I think this is probably going to lean towards fragment, but it could become an aspect. Because that's essentially, if it became an aspect, it's essentially the same way it is now, where it's Warlock exclusive, but other classes can still get them and get the ability energy from Cold Heart. But I think this is, if they keep it as it is, where collecting an ionic trace gives you energy to all your abilities, I think it could be a fragment, because that's not that different than a lot of the armor mods. But if they make it better in some way, then I could see it being a fragment. Pulse Wave, again, I could see that being a fragment, but something like Landfall, which right here, I think that's definitely got to be an aspect, because that's unique to the super. It's not going to go, I can't imagine a Hunter or a Titan getting Landfall. Arc Soul, I think, is going to be a fragment, or an aspect rather, sorry about that, because this has been very much a Warlock-centric thing. And then you have the other armor pieces, like Getaway Artist, where you can convert your grenade into an Arc Soul, which is Warlock exclusive. And that kind of feeds into the whole Child of the Old Gods situation, and something like that. Now, I do want to touch on other pieces of exotic armor here while we're discussing this. Vesper Radius, I don't see it being that good to use, honestly. So going into Arc 3.0, I think your main options will be Mantle of Battle Harmony, Getaway Artist, maybe Crown of Tempest, but I feel like those are probably your big three. With the TWAB that just came out today, there are a lot of other options for you. They're going to relook at the way glaives and exotic armor interact, so there's definitely a lot of possibilities there. But yeah, for the most part, I think those are going to be like your big three options. So yeah, that's my thoughts for how Arc 3.0 is going to shape out. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you could like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And please come check out my Twitch. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow evening, so please come check it out and show your support. Thank you.